So I can understand Frank Field wanting to put the miscreants, the lazy bastards, really are, and their frigging offspring, children with children, in containers underneath the pigging bypass, and you need to have, sorry, the flyover, and you need to have a bigger flyover than they've got in Birkenhead. Now then, Frank Field resigns at the precise time that he's got no confidence. Sorry, there's no confidence from his party in him. They know when to pick the times, don't they? As again with Putin, who didn't do anything. But the government has to try and demonise Putin. And they don't like the fact that Donald Trump is shaking hands with Putin. Neither does the American government. They don't want peace, they want war. Because it fills their pigging pockets for a start. How do you think Tony Blair got his millions? In 4 years of office he got his pigging millions, didn't he? What was it, Halliburton? Yeah, Tony. Was it? And some say Cherry Blair did it. No, because it had been done beforehand if she'd done it. He'd got his millions before he got into being the Prime Minister. If it came through her. How strange it came when we went to war. Industrial military complex. Of which Frank Field should have resigned. Walked out of Parliament. Didn't though, did he? Should have resigned. Walked out. In protest. On all our pigging wood. These are politicians. Let us never forget, these are not us. These are politicians. Think of it this way. You are on an assembly line, okay? We are on this assembly line. Putting things together. That is our job. What is the job of a politician? Well, he spends his time putting together deceit and lies. This is his job, his full-time job. This is what he produces. And if anything good comes of a politician, it's by way of. A politician may have a constituent saying, oh well, this hospital's done this and this. Oh well, I'll go along and see. And as he goes in, the management of the hospital is deferential to the man because he's a politician, and therefore things will get altered and answered. Okay. But when it really comes to battling it out, very few politicians can do so. Rees-Mogg, I noticed, can do so. Frank Field was asked recently, and I know this as a fact, absolute fact, that Frank Field should put a few questions to Theresa May concerning the CPS, for one. He refused to do so. Now that was by a constituent, and there was a genuine, absolutely genuine public interest question that should have been presented. So what's happening? We're back to this favoured by the opposition government, Theresa May's government, the Conservatives. It's working hand in hand with the pigging Conservatives. Who's going out of the pigging trenches, going into the pigging German trenches and serving them? And they're inviting him over. Oh, take this office. And of course the Section 21s comes out of it. That's conservatism. To have people turfed out of their homes for no reason. Let's look at the whole of Frank Field, not just part. One person's going around and saying, oh, well, he did good here, he did good there, therefore he must be a good person. Oh, what about this then? And you get the other side saying this, and neither side can make their picking mind up. Well, two sides should come together and say, right, I've got this, you've got that, join them together, we see the real man. And the real man is politics. He's a political animal. He's not us. He is not one with us. He is not like us. No politician is like us. They're politicians. You know, we need a pigging hammer and a sodding chisel with some people and bang it into their heads. They're politicians. The word is there in front of you. And that again, what do they manufacture? Politics. What does the chap down the road at the car plant manufacture? Cars. Not bacon butties. Oh man. You're not given a title for nothing. Sales assistant. Go in, I want to talk to the sales assistant. You're not then presented with a doctor. Well, somebody that's been turfed out by Section 21 through this guy. Conservative. Again, he was the bugger that went in 1990, crept into 10 Downing Street and told Thatcher she's losing popularity, Major's the better one. And of course he would have said, as I said at the time, Major is the one, that was smooth talking and the affable person that the nation would vote for, because they were sick to death of this old hag. When he got in, I was told at the time, oh no, how do you know that, how do you know that? And I explained. He's the smooth talker. He's the one that doesn't bring any contention. People don't want any more contention. And he got it. You've only got to work things out. That's all it takes. He's an Anglican. Anglicanism and Romanism are not Christian. If you look at Anglicanism historically, it's not Christian. If you look at it theologically, it's not Christian. It only pretends to be Christian. It'll have its 39 articles, well, it has 39 articles, its prayer book, the Bible. So does Satan. So what? It's not Christian. It's persecuted. The Anglican Church, or the Church of England as we call it as well, has persecuted Christians down the years. Persecuted them. Do you know the Anglican Church, Frank Field, and you should know this, being of the Anglican Church, and you well pigging know this, you can't avoid it. It's something you can't be ignorant of. Freedom of speech. The Anglican Church refused and implemented an act of Parliament, the Conventicle Act, to restrain, curtail freedom of speech. And the focus was on Christianity. So, an example, Frank Field, of John Bunyan of Bedford. He's talking to 2 to 3 people about the scriptures, he gets arrested under the Conventicle Act. That assembly was illegal. You couldn't express yourself, even in religious terms, to any more than one person. What a wicked system. And it turfed out, it caused the turfing out of over 200 ministers by an Act of Parliament. Again, the Anglicanism went to Parliament and got an Act of Parliament passed. The Act of Conformity. Of course, there's the 5 Mile Act. The persecution of Christians and other members of the public. Was an awful thing at the time. I mean, John Bunyan, 12 years in prison. 12 years, not with a TV, not with the comforts and luxuries. He had to pay for it, for what he had, in a cold, dank Bedford prison. Awful times. And of course, deportations. And they've been involved in also murders. This is the Anglican Church for you. With the big girls' blouses swaying round and round. Now, just to conclude, this man believes in child murder, and yet he's an Anglican. Again, Anglicanism isn't Christianity, neither is Romanism. He believes in child murder. It's called abortion. He says that the time to murder a child, I'm using the term murder because we refuse to sanitise this thing by saying abortion. The time for which a child should be murdered in the womb, and it has to be a child because there's nothing else in the womb, and there's nothing else you're terminating but life, and life belongs to what? A child. Let them take their semantics and play their word games. It's still their reality. There's a child there. The doctor says you're expecting a child. There's a child is there, and that's what we see. He says the time limit should be shortened, so he approves of murdering children. Now, in the case of mothers whom the doctor has assured, and doctors rather have assured, no complications, and can show those complications, and that the life of the mother might die as well as the child, then it's up to the mother to decide, not Parliament. Who the hell is Parliament to decide about some bugger's life in this situation? We never gave them that right, but they assume that right over us, like every other piggy right. She should be the one that decides, no bugger else. And if she decides to have the child taken away, that she then may go on for some period to bear other children, I see no problem with that. But actually terminate children for a career lifestyle, that's wickedness. That's wickedness. You know, when a child is brought into this world, is first of all born. A child is born in the womb, like a thought is born in the mind. And then the child is brought out into the world, just as the thought in the mind is brought out. The conception, the conceiving of it is brought out many times. Sometimes it dies in the thoughts. But when it's brought out, it's realised as an actual material thing, either in writing or physically. It's then brought out into the world. You need the first of all conception. Okay, a thought and the conception of a child. They are both real. So thank in line with his Anglicanism, believes in child murder. And I'll say this in closing. This man has done this again at this time because he's trying to get people to have confidence in him. Now, he complains about bullying, intolerance and bullying and nastiness and intimidation. It was put to him recently, and I know this as an absolute fact, that his own council was intimidating, bullying, was intolerant of a woman whom they had aided and abetted, an old woman, to be put out onto the street. And this bugger here sat in his sodding chair and he did bugger all. He couldn't give a damn. There was an old woman out on the street with a dog and he didn't give a damn. And the council, his council, had showed intolerance, nastiness and intimidation. And what this, almost swore there, what this beggar is doing is showing his childish side, as all MPs do. They're childish. They're not mature. They're all farts, most of them. They're complaining, nanny, 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 oh, and they're looking towards us. Oh, please have sympathy on us. We're being intimidated. There's no, oh, it's all intolerance and nastiness. Oh, well, fuck it. Grow up. Grow up. Eh? And how about getting out of your chair, off your pigging horse, mate, and going down to your pigging council and tackling them? Oh, no. We should have sympathy for these persons these are telling us. Have a sympathy for us. Hey, you feckless wonders. They're always crying, crying, crying and crying. That's all they're doing. MPs are always pigging, crying. Then they're booing, then they're getting drunk. And they're going down to Miss Whiplashes. Then they're buggering this child and that child and every buggering else's child. And they're sitting in sodding hotels at £1,300 a night, charged to the taxpayer. That's what all these buggers do. And the fancy cigars and fancy wines and fancy meals, charge it to the taxpayer. Taxis, charge it to the taxpayer. Flights out of the country, charge it to the taxpayer. Charge my rent to the taxpayer, council tax to the taxpayer. This is all these buggers do. Again, we come back to the point. They're politicians. They can't do anything else. That's all they produce. All they produce is for themselves. Self, 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 self and self. And if they see something that will promote themselves, they'll do it. So don't come turning around and say, oh, well, he's done this, you know, he's done good, this man, or that man, or this woman, oh, he's done good. But look at it in the context, why has he done it? And I mean, how many times have I gone to persons and they said, oh, this politician's good, this one here, oh yeah, he's done this, yeah, but what about this that he hasn't done? And they can't fathom it. Why haven't they done that? Come on, tell me, why haven't they done this? Which is equally as important. Because at the time, this thing is the most popular, and therefore they're running with it. The politicians, they're playing us. And we're supposed to dance, and you're dancing to it. And you'll go along and vote. A vote of what? My vote is with my feet. I vote, I walk off. A vote of no confidence. Just like my grandfathers did. Okay? In 1910. And of course, lastly, and this goes across the board, okay? Now this, above all things, we have to try and remember. This bugger won't say it. Again. Politician! He's a politician! My goodness, it's like trusting Jack the Ripper with your wife, isn't it? Eh? Pagan, eh? Or Dracula at a blood bank. This man speaks of anti-Semitism, that the Labour Party is anti-Semite. He's doing this because publicly Jeremy Corbyn is being called an anti-Semite. Now this bugger here, alright, this Frank Field is supposed to be a Christian. He's not, as we say. He's not. Show me thy faith by thy works, says James. Okay, in the book of James. Anyhow. Let's get down to the nitty gritty. Further down. This man claims to be a Christian. He therefore should be an anti-Semite. Oh, you just can't freaking make this up, but these buggers do. They lend themselves because they're in the liars. Because they're liars. He should be an anti-Semite. And anti-Judaism. Natural Jewry, the natural Jew, okay. The vast majority believe in a religion called Judaism. Now Judaism